So let's go ahead and first see that what we'll be building as a show toast environment value and how will it work. You can see that when I click on the error, the toast appears and it just goes away in a couple of seconds. The great thing about this toast is that it is centralized or globalized, meaning we're going to be creating an environment value, and all we need to do is to call the function, our own function called show toast. And once we call that function, well, the toast will display it. And you can be in any view that you want. Even if you are in a sheet, you'll be able to see the toast. This is informational message now. All right. So this is what we'll be building. Let's go ahead and get started. Now that you have seen that what we will be building, let's go ahead and get started. The first thing that we need to do is to create some sort of a struct or an enum that can say that this will be an toast type, success toast, error toast, or informational toast. So I'm going to go ahead and create an enum and I'll call it toast type. And we can have different cases like success and the message that you can pass. Same way, we can have the error and the info. All right, great. Success, error, info, they will each have their own background color. So I'm going to go ahead and create another property over here. I'll call it background color and return the color itself. We can perform a switch on the self, and for the cases, success, we don't really care that much about the actual message because we're just returning color, right? So let's go ahead and return a color, and we'll use color.green, and we'll use the opacity of 0.9. Same thing for the error, and for informational messages, we will return different kind of colors like red for the error, of course, and for informational message, info message, we can return blue. It would also be nice if we have some sort of a property that we can use to create an image, like an icon. For error, it can be like some sort of a mark, like a cross, informational mark, informational message can be info, and then success can be like a check mark. Well, we can just expose these things through the user properties. There we go, another property we added. And then the final thing is the message. Whenever you are dealing with these cases, you can see right there, you are passing in the message. Now the message you can pass in is custom, so you can pass in something has been saved, or error message is operation failed, or informational message can be something else. So that will be the message. So switch self case for success, we will say MSG for message. Case for error, we don't really, we're just going to handle all of them at the same time because all they're doing is literally sending the message back, which is return message. Okay, so I think this is pretty cool that we are able to do that, right? Okay, now let's go ahead and create the ToastView. The ToastView will be the actual view, the user interface, that will be shown whenever you display a toast. So it will be a SwiftUI view. So I'm going to go ahead and create ToastView. And since it's a view, it needs to implement body property. And currently I'm just going to return ToastView. Now in order for the ToastView to work, you do need to send in the type, which is ToastType. Okay. After this, it's all about how you're building your ToastView. All right. So I can actually use stack over here, and we can add like some sort of a alignment to be center and spacing to be 10, but this is completely up to you. Type.icon, and we can access the icon. Dot foreground color, or in this case, the foreground style, we can use white. Next up, we can use text, So I'm just going to add text. And then we can also add padding. All right, padding to the whole edge stack. Padding, background color, all of these things. So these are just kind of like the styles that we're adding. The good thing is that we can easily preview these things. So I can write a preview over here, another preview, and I can say ToastView and pass in the type. Let's say success, and pass in some sort of a message. Let's say whatever, customer saved. And let's go ahead and run our preview, and we'll be able to see that how this message looks like. And now you can see it looks pretty good, right? I can go ahead and change this to something else, or let me go ahead and add multiple ones if I want to add multiple ones. So I can say error. Obviously for error I will have to say something else over here. Let's say operation failed. And for info, some sort of a informational message. Whatever you want to do. Okay? So this is how it will look like in the preview. Okay, so this is good. Now the next thing that we want to do is how can we use this? How can we show the toast view from our content view or from any view? And what we want is we want to show it something like this. I mean, this is what we're after, right? Environment, show toast, private var, show toast. And then whenever we want to show a toast, let's say if I want to have a button, let's say success, I'll say show toast. Of course, it's not going to work right now. Success, and I can say whatever the message is. But this is at least the outline of what we want to do. You can see that we're using environment values, show toast. This means that we will need to create those environment values that will have an action to display the toast. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here and say show toast action. It's simply a struct, and now I can define a type alias for action, which is simply a closure, which is going to take ToastType and not really going to return anything. Then we can create an action which is of type alias action. We will also implement call as function, where we can pass in the toast type, and then it will simply call that action. All right, so call as function will allow us to call this struct as a function, and now we can also go to our environment values by extending it, so extension to the environment values, and use the entry macro to create a new custom environment value called show toast action. We're not going to pass anything over here, or we're just going to initialize it kind of like this, because when we are injecting it to our content view, then at that point we will define the actual implementation. Okay, so this looks really good, but then the question becomes, well, how can the content view implement a custom show toast action? Now I can go over here and I can do this environment, and I can say show toast, and I can say show toast action, where I guess we can pass in the action and so on, right? I can do all of that stuff. But in order to write a little bit of more cleaner code, wouldn't it be nice if I'm able to do something more simpler? Like, how about this with toast? Oh yeah, this looks much nicer and much simpler, as you can see. This is a content view with the toast. And since content view will be our root view, all of the views will have access to the toast. But this is not really going to work right now because this is a custom view modifier. So this means that we will have to implement a custom view modifier. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to create a struct. I'll call it ToastModifier, which is a view modifier. Whenever you create a view modifier, you will need to implement the body function. And the body function should return, well, some sort of a view. Inside the body function, we can get access to the content. Now, the content over here will be the view on which you're calling the toast modifier. So if we go back to the example of content view, on the content view, we called with toast. This means the content view will be the content. All right. So what we want to do over here is use that particular view on which you're calling the view modifier and set up the environment, meaning kind of like inject the key path. Show toast. And over here we can say show toast action. We will get the toast type. And over here we can do something. Now we need to capture the toast type because we will be needing it a little bit in the future. Since this is a view modifier, we can easily use the state. And this state can be ToastType. Once this show toast action is going to get fired, we can set this type as a type. Also, we can wrap this with animation so that it will animate. Here we go, with animation. Great. Another thing that we need to do is we need to make sure that if a person clicks the button which shows the toast and they just click the button multiple times, then the last task, the last task that they did to show the toast should be cancelled. And for doing that, what we need to do is we can use dismiss task, which is of type dispatch work item. And the whole reason that we are using that is once the user, accidentally clicks on show toast button multiple times, then the last counter that we were running or the dispatch that we were running, we will cancel it. Or else, it will start multiple counters and all those things because eventually we want to show the toast, but after a couple of seconds, it should also, dismiss. Next, we will schedule a new dismissal. All right, but before that, actually, we need to schedule or cancel a previous dismissal task, if any. If there is any task that requires to be canceled, we will say dismiss task, and we will say cancel. All right. And let's first make sure that we are not inside the correct place. That's why content over here, I think. I believe we are supposed to be over here. There we go. Okay, so now we can schedule a new dismissal. So let task equals to dispatch work item with a block. The block will be with animation, ease in and out, self.type. Now this is a dismissal task. So all the dismissal task is doing is setting the type to nil. Self.dismiss task equals to task and dispatch queue dot main dot async after. So what we are trying to do over here is we are dismissing the task after a couple of seconds. Let's say whatever time is now plus 3. Execute the task. And this is the important part because once we click on a button that shows a toast, if we click on that button multiple times, then all the previous, async and all the timers that you started, we want to cancel those things. So those are getting canceled now. So now the question comes like, okay, how do we actually display it? Well, we can use overlay. And with the overlay, we can assign an alignment to the top so that it displays on the top. And if there is a type, then we can go ahead and display a toast view with some sort of a transition, as you can see over here. Nice and simple transition. So this is our toast modifier. Now, in order to use a toast modifier much easier, usually it is recommended that you perform an extension to the view and you just create the view extension like with toast, some view, and it's simply going to go ahead and create the toast modifier. There we go. All right. Oh, not function, just func. All right. Okay, so now it's actually looking really good. Now we can go back to our code in the content view, and let's actually focus on the content view. So I'm just going to load the preview for the content view. Now, since we have the with toast modifier, I'm just going to go ahead and uncomment that. Uncomment the show toast and also uncomment the show toast in the success button. Now let's go ahead and click on that, and there we go. And after a couple of seconds, 3 seconds, it goes away. If I click on success and I click multiple times, you can see what it does is it just cancels the previous ones and restart a new one so that it doesn't stay there for like 10 or 12 seconds. It starts canceling all the previous ones, all the previous tasks before starting a new one. So I think this is great. Now we can obviously change this if you want failure, which is error. I think we should probably call it failure, but you can do that. Let's just say operation failed. All right, and let's say error. There we go. So operation failed. All right. Okay. Now, what happens when you are working on an app where you also have a sheet, right? What happens in those scenarios? If I have a sheet, let's say this one, settings screen, how will I use the show toast modifier? Let's go back to the content view. The first thing I'm going to do is try to display the sheet somehow. So I'm going to say state private var, let's say settings presented boolean false, okay. And I'll add another button and I'll call it show settings. Show settings is simply going to go ahead and set the settings presented to be true. And we can use the sheet modifier, which is going to say settings presented. And the view that we're going to display will be settings screen. So the only thing we're doing is over here displaying a settings screen when you click on the show settings button. Let's see if it works. Okay, you can definitely see that it is working. Now the question is, what if you wanted to show the toast from inside the settings screen? Well, this means that inside the settings screen, you will get access to the show toast custom environment value. And whenever you are performing some action, you can simply say show toast and whatever you want to say. Let's say up over here, info message. You are signed out. Okay. Let's go back to our code, our content view, so we can display the sheet. I'll click on the sheet and I'll click on sign out. You will see that it does display the toast, but not on top of the sheet, but on the main view or on the parent view. See that? So now the question is, okay, how do we fix this? Well, one of the ways that we can actually fix this, or at least part of it, is when we display settings screen, we can call with toast on the settings screen. Now if I say show settings and sign out, you can see that it kind of appears on top of the settings screen instead of the parent view. See that? So this fixes that problem. So just remember, whenever you're using a sheet, when you're displaying a sheet, just make sure to call with toast modifier on it so you can use it. If you run the application right now in your actual simulator, then you will find out that we may need to set up something, because remember that all of these things that we are doing are in the preview. So let's see how it actually looks like when we're using the app. So let's go to the app, and you can see that in the app we haven't really used any of that stuff. See that? So if I run the actual app in the simulator or on the actual device, you will see that it will have no idea, no concept of show toast, because as you can see, we have not really added that. So let's go ahead and see how we can do that. I know that the simulator is taking a little bit of more time to run for some reason. There we go. Now if I say error or anything error, it doesn't work. So what we do is we'll go over here in your actual app and we wrap it with toast. And let's go ahead and run it again. And now you can see it's working correctly. All right. So there you have it. Now we have created our complete application which shows the toast messages, the global toast messages to the user. The best part is that if you ever need to show a toast, all you need to do is to get access to the show toast environment value and then simply use it right there. So hopefully you have enjoyed this tutorial. Thank you so much, and please make sure to share the news about Azam Sharp School. There are workshops over there. You can go to azamsharp.school, watch the workshops or enroll in the workshop. There are so many different courses out there also. So enjoy all of that, and please share it on social media. Hopefully you have enjoyed it. Don't forget to download the source code. Thank you so much.